In the last episode, we reviewed the systems for making your own groups and got one of our own started. We found a very strong tank and a group of a holy paladin and 2 lower geared mages. It's not the greatest of comps, but I wanted to make the point that abiding by the perfect tier list meta is unnecessary, and you can time keys with some pretty sketchy groups. So are we going to be able to finish, or am I going to have to eat my words? Well, we had a strong start, but hit our first speed bump when one of the mages goes down and we elect to battle res them rather than have them run back from the start. Let's just say this is an assertive play that saves time but leaves us without the safety net of a battle res, which we quickly come to regret when our healer tries to clear the ice flows but misses hitting their bubble first. Not a big mistake to make, but it has disastrous consequences as the group bleeds out. To their credit, the paladin owns their mistake, reinforcing my belief in the goodness and reasonableness of the average pugger. Snap is left fighting the boss alone, and an interesting situation develops. Our mage begins bantering with Snap, inferring that he should die and we should reset the boss and kill it from full. At this point, this is a judgment call at best, especially when you consider that Snap is accounting for a lot more damage than the average tank. Snap doesn't deign to reply and keeps fighting, and I decide to try to defuse the situation, reminding our mage that this is what DK is built for and surely Snap is enjoying himself. Snap kills the boss and the rest of the dungeon goes smoothly, finishing with a full 12 minutes left on the clock and upgrading my key to a 12 Neltherus. I thank the group and then drop from the party. Okay, let's do it again. We relist our group again without changing anything. After just a minute, we are again blessed with a lucky sign-up. A warrior tank with a paladin and a warlock, all high geared and scored. They're from Kel'Thalas, and I know some people outright refuse to play with people from there, being that it's a Brazilian server. I think that's crazy. Not only are you missing out on playing with some superb players, but these are artificial limitations that only result in you spending more time standing around in town when you could be playing the game. I love inviting parties like this, because it usually means they're invoiced together and the group will therefore have a higher level of coordination without any input from me. With the party at 4, let's quickly review what we need. We have a tank and 3 battle reses, but we need a healer with a bloodlust. That means I'm looking for a shaman or an evoker. And perfect. Here's just what I was looking for. All my requirements are met. After a quick welcome, it's time to run this key. We zone in, I give them a few seconds for consumables, and using the left pull-out panel I issue a ready check and ready my key in the pedestal. Once everyone is ready, I begin the countdown, and from there I just focus on playing. It's a very uninteresting key, just how we like it. We stomp through and finish with almost 10 minutes left on the clock, leaving me holding a plus 14. We're getting outside the scope of this guide, so let's switch to another character. This is my DK, which I'm still learning to play. It's poorly geared and has completed a 2 and a 4. I love leading groups on characters like this because you can get into much more difficult content than you can normally be invited to. Let's see what we can get away with. Our first sign-up is, once again, a tank. We exchange greetings and the list quickly begins to fill. I'm not going to think too hard about group comp for a plus 2, I just want to cover my bases and turn this into a plus 5 as quickly as possible. Most of these signups could absolutely do a plus 2, and not accepting them doesn't mean I don't think they're capable, I just want to make this as quick and easy for myself as possible. A resto shaman signs up who is clearly carrying a paladin friend. That's fine as far as I'm concerned. It's a healer and it means I get to do more damage. With our bloodlust and B-res requirements met, we complete our party with the strongest player in queue, who happens to be a rogue. We do our ready check, countdown, and start the key. Let's skip ahead again, you don't need to see me flounder in a plus 2. We plus 3 it into a ruby life pools, say our thanks, and drop the group. Back in town, we list our key again. This time no tank, but a mage who looks up to the challenge joins the queue and we grab them for our bloodlust. In short order, we are joined by a guardian druid and a mistweaver monk. Around this point I'm feeling things are going too well and that we need to zest up this video a bit. So I skip over the high-ranked hunter and as an act of charity grab a warrior instead. Warriors without a B-res or a lust have a tough time getting invites. Sadly, I'm soon to regret this decision. I forgot that the affix this week requires many dispels, and I don't have my druid. Theoretically, the druid, mage, and monk can handle it, but do you really think a mage is going to dispel in a 5? Our tank ends up carrying the vast brunt of the dispel work, which isn't really fair. I take a moment to thank them, hoping to at least keep up their morale, knowing their good works are being seen. I certainly could have done better on the group comp this time, but that's fine, that's called learning. In this game, you can forever be thinking about comp and routes, and every little min-max detail like that can also paralyze you into just not playing the game. So get out there with the intention of making mistakes and learning from them. Despite my error, we fight our way through and roll the key up to a +7 Halls of Infusion. I thank everybody, then head back to town and get back in queue. We have to wait a long time this time. My lack of gear and score has begun registering with people. Sometimes you just gotta be willing to wait though. You can't always have strong tanks sign up immediately. A warrior volunteers, but after the last key, unfortunately, there's just no way I'm inviting a warrior first before I see how many dispels I can get. Finally, an augmentation evoker comes along, and we haven't talked about Aug yet. This is just Feelycraft, but I suspect it's really bad when it's buffing an undergeared player who is still learning my rotation. I take them anyway because Aug just has a way of making keys easier. Your tank is sturdier, your healer is amplified, the Aug utility suite is insane. We shouldn't be up against the clock anyway, and at this point I really want to invite someone so that this group starts filling. I start with a Heyo, but then I remember sometimes the Azralon folks don't speak English, so I give them the waving guy. They respond with a variation of the traditional greeting. Now we're joined by a tank who I'm happy to take at this point despite them having only done the dungeon 5 levels lower. Remember, playing the game is better than sitting around waiting. With a tank in party, we're quickly joined by a healer. With all our basic requirements met, I forgo the higher geared rogue and DH in favor of a mage, who to their credit actually does land some dispels. This run goes as smoothly as the others, in particular thanks to our superb healer who I noticed land some nice knockbacks on the frog boss. I compliment them, providing them with a nice morale buff. It's not required that you notice or comment on the performance of your teammates, but it costs nothing to be nice, and it can really make somebody's day. I'll say it again, most of the people in World of Warcraft are friendly and lovely, and if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. We roll our key up into a +9, and we are right back where we were when we started. I decide at this point that this video needs some carnage. It's not realistic to depict that every key goes this well. If you're pushing yourself and trying to do the highest keys possible, you might be failing around 50%, and that's fine. So though it's a little out of the scope of this video, let's head back to that +14. As usual, we take a healer and a bloodlust and ignore a warrior. We say hello, and then, amusingly, the warrior whispers me, calling me out for not inviting him using my own rule. He's not wrong, but I'm remembering that earlier key and want another dispel. I've learned that, and I found that these impudent whisperers tend to be quicker to lash out and blame others when the run does go wrong. I usually just ignore them. However, when a red paladin does the same thing, I do decide to take them for the dispel. We'll see if my theories are correct. We're joined by a tank and head inside. There we are in for a treat. Our tank links a route, which is a message that, if you have the Mythic Dungeon Tools add-on, allows you to see every pull the tank is planning. Then the tank goes over a few of the bosses, detailing exact strategies they wish to deploy. This is exceptional communication and leadership on the part of the tank, and a good omen for our run. We rack up 4 deaths before the first boss, and then everything goes wrong. We wipe to the first boss at low health and after burning our lust. Our healer dies first, but this was probably my fault as we were trying to drop the puddles together, but I stepped forward, causing them to not be able to outrun it. Trying to keep the morale up, I throw the tank a compliment on their tactics of the boss before we pull again. This time we're able to down it, but we're behind on time. In the next hall there's a miscommunication and a series of deaths. The hunter owns it, though they weren't the only one who messed up, and confirming our suspicions from earlier, our whispering paladin feels the need to add their own accusation. The timer is halfway done. We're at 17 deaths and only have 1 boss down. The key is declared over. The tank is disappointed, but we are seasoned dungeoneers who are conditioned to failure and know it is part of the process. Now something cool happens. For a lot of people, they view this time of PUGing as only temporary, with the end goal being to establish a consistent group, or at least have a friends list full of familiar people to run keys with. But making friends is a challenge. Here though, because we were nice and despite failing the run, our tank decides to share their battle tag with us so that we can run keys again in the future. I go to add friend in the social panel and type in their B tag and send the request. After they accept, I can right click their name and add a private note so I remember who the person is. From here you can message them easily and they will also be highlighted in the group finder. Having a strong tank on our friends list is gold. This is almost beating the game. Now we have a tank we can call upon who we know can play and has good leadership and communication skills and a good attitude. We've taken a step beyond PUGing and into the greater world of playing with friends. I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope the repetition helps you to get comfortable with forming groups and allows you to see that even if everything blows up in your face, it's not a big deal, just go again. These keys were a reminder for me that ultimately World of Warcraft is all about the people who play it, and even in PUGs with minimal communication you can still meet some pretty special people. I wish you good luck in your keys and better with your friendships. Thanks. Have a good night.